Today we're going to talk about how to create the feathery effect with different process and different amount of water. So if you have any questions, please put it in the comment. My assistant, it will remind me so I can answer as we are going along. And also, I would like you guys to drop down what kind of future classes or wish. Now, we are all here. Welcome to the second Facebook. Talk about feathery effect. Like I say, the little feather, how we can create that very soft, light edges. That actually is all about feeling. And painting, most of the people, they paint what they see, try to capture the shapes, capture the color, capture the line. But in another level, we also want to capture that feeling. So like say you're painting the sky, right? So it's not just painting the shape, painting the color. You're also painting the feeling of really far away and painting the air space. Okay. Let's play around with how to control the water or how to use the water to see how can we. I think that, hang on, I'm going to. But I need the audio on that. You guys can talk to me. Okay, let's take a look. I'm gonna put the water over here. And the paper I'm using, just so you know, I want to thank to Artisa. It's a cold press watercolor paper, 100% cotton. So I'm gonna put the water over here. This area, they're gonna all have the same amount of water. There's lots of water in here, okay? And I'm gonna keep putting a different water area. And you can see that this water, it have couple minutes more earlier, right? And then keep moving on over here. So take a 3 spot in a row, and then over here. Now assuming the water start evaporated, and now it's getting drier and getting wet, more wet. If I do that at the same time right now to all this. So we're gonna do this one. I'm gonna look at it from the angle so I can see that they are pretty wet. So at the same time right now, this is about 2 minutes ago, right? This is about 1.5 minutes ago. This is 1 minute ago, and then so on. Now it's just it has most of the water over here, and even though they're the same amount but different timing, that's the timing we're going to talk about. We're going to wait a couple minutes, and anyone has any questions now, and I can answer. And now the water getting a little bit more and more drier, and we're not going to use the hair dryer or anything. It's just going to let it naturally getting dry. Any questions?
No, I'm just eager to see how it's going to work.
I think the people are still sleeping.
We have Angela with us now.
Well, I can see her beautiful face. What do you think about that video I just posted last night?
Angela's video is awesome. I love how you pulled the 3 photos together.
Uh-huh.
Much better than my suggestion to her.
Uh-huh. Yes.
It's actually really, it was funny watching it back. I love what you've done with the actual, like you've improved the thumbnail.
Uh-huh.
From when you drew it on the, because I'd taken the snapshot of when you drew it actually during the actual critique, and then you'd obviously finished it off, and it's really interesting. So I've been busy trying to draw out my own sort of sketch and ideas from it now.
Uh-huh.
So,
Cool. Okay, now I'm going to use this is a little bit smaller round brush. So this number 10 is able here. Now I'm going to start mixing a little color. Say I'm going to mix in a little brown color. The color is very important as well to see how the feathery effect look. And so there is couple things is very important. We're not let the water moving. We're going to let the color moving. That's the key over here. I'm going to mix a little bit this kind of brown color. Okay. So the color in the brush now is very thick. It's not lots of water. If you have more water than the water on the paper, and the paper, the water in the paper would actually would be pushed around by the new water. But if the color over here is very thick, and then mostly the movement, it will be the color pushing into the water. So let's take a look. That actually is the driest. So I'm gonna have something a little bit thicker. So you're gonna see how it look like. If you're immediately going back into it, it will actually going to destroy the effect that you just created. But you need to really know that how thick the color would be affecting how it would look. So I'm gonna have a color even thicker. Okay, so see that the color really thick. If you see it looking at my brush, I'm gonna do one more over here. So look at this area. It actually start fading out. But however, the form of that, it would be stay more or less like the way it is. But look at this one, has more water, right? And actually that is fade away and become really soft on the edge. So we're gonna continue. Okay, take a look. Something a little bit thicker color. And I'm gonna put it right over here. Start fading away. Now I'm going to use a little bit more water. I'm going to get a little bit more water to see how it looks like. Now is to see the color actually with the water, the mixture, right? The water with the color over here. Now it start pushing the water away. It's much more bigger. But sometimes you want this kind of effect. Sometimes you want that kind of effect. It's totally. So you need to play with the water a little more. If after you can imagine how the color and water interact, because everything over here is all about water and the pigment, and how thick the pigment would be, and controlling what is the look of these two different kind of effect. Any questions for now? So we're gonna continue. We're already halfway through this morning, and we're gonna take a look over here. Ooh, look at that! This is actually getting drier already. So you can see this kind of effect on the edge over here. So also the speed is very important. If you do it slowly, if you do it faster, and this one looks a little bit more interesting, and this, of course, and different timing, and it would create different kind of look. And let's continue over here. Ooh. And I'm going to have a lot of water in the brush now. You need to control on how your brush laying to the paper. You need to push it down and just push it. Okay.
There's a question.
Yes.
So should the brush have less water than the paper?
That is a good question. It totally depends on what's the look you're looking for. Now I'm gonna wet this a little more. So now in this spot, it has more water, right? Then
You have some latecomers and just to assure that yes, the paper has to be wet first.
yep,
So, yeah.
yep, you have to be wet first. But we're gonna try something that wet later. Okay, let's take a look. Because it has a lot of water on the paper. Now you have this kind of effect. So responding that question, I'm gonna come back over here. This is a little bit dry, but the paint is still wet, right? So I'm going to use just the water. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna soften the edge. It will come up this kind of effect. And with this action, we actually have the water soften the edge and lead the solid paint a little bit more solid, not exact solid, but lead the paint and smooth out like that. And it has some similarity over here. But when you're doing something like this, you make sure that you really do it without repeating. It's just, you don't want it to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like that. On this side, I'm going to just use the water, touching the edge of the color. So the color have a place to go because you're always going into the color going into where the water is. It keep moving around.
So a question. If you were to direct special feathers coming out, would that make it more pointed?
What is that? The paper's positions or what is it?
No, just kind of like lines of water. So if just lines of water are coming out, that's where the paint would be first.
Interesting. I want to know would be exactly what is too wet, less wet, dry. That's from Deeper. And Laurie said when the brush stroke on different variations of wet paper. Thank you, Dipper, for answering that for me. Yes, I think so. Also different color again. Like over here, you can do another round. Like say, at first I want something really soft, but in the middle I want something a little bit thicker. In that case, and the second round now has a little bit less water on the paper because longer you stay on the in the air and the paper gets drier, right? Now I'm gonna do one more time over here, and this time the color a little bit thicker. Now here we go. Now you have a second round. Now is this effect but based on the first effect combined together. And now let's take a look and compare the effect that wet the edge afterward and the one is just put it right on top of the wet paper. It has a different kind of texture. Do you see this between this and that? It have a different kind of effect. And afterward, it looks a little bit smoother. But when it's this transition, it seems like it's very similar. And this is also have a different effect. It's very different from what we had in the beginning. When we start forming the effect. And also keep in mind the texture of the paper also do lots of things about it. And this paper is a cold press paper with the medium texture between the hot press with really, really smooth and rough texture. So also different company, they're making different texture. Even they all say cold press it was not exactly the same texture. So you need to know exactly the paper that you're using is what kind of effect that you will try to get. Okay. And it came out to be very nice over here, but we're going to watch it. We're going to see how it finally going to settle at the end. So let's say when you're doing a painting or doing a commission and it needs this kind of feathery effect, and you want to see exactly how it's going to turn out based on the color, the paint, the amount of water, and the paper that you use. And you can predict how that is going to turn out. So you want to use some scrap paper and do some testing before. And the testing, you need to wait until it all settle, because you need all until the water and the color stop transforming. And that is the final result that you're going to have. And the other thing about what are we going to do after this effect? When you're after this effect, you can come into using lifting off, or you can come into doing the wet on dry to create even some other details. This very much dry already. So I'm gonna coming back over here. Oh, I'm gonna make it look like, feel like more. So I'm gonna use this very sharp gold hair calligraphy brush. So I'm gonna come in over here, just be a little bit more precise in the middle over here, so I can lift up a little white line, or say light line. That's good. And now I'm gonna come into mix the same color. I'm gonna have this. I don't need lots of color, so it's a little bit red, so a little bit brown color. So I'm gonna come in to do a.
Be good for mist.
Yeah, for mist, for feather. I'm doing a feather now.
What about the fur on animals?
Of course, any soft edges, you can use that. And we have a few demonstrations, like the fox and the little squirrel, and those we already used them. Oh, look at that! This is really interesting. That you might want to use that on a landscape. That you can use it in the distance.
That's what I was looking for. That last one.
Okay, cool.